Hi and welcome to this our first video. So what I'm going to show you today is how I created the whiteboard. Now the first thing I'm doing is I'm increasing the canvas size of the imaginary piece of paper to the same size as the whiteboard that I'm using, just using the page setup. And now what I'm going to do is create some of these little boxes for the dates. And it's super simple. What I'm going to do is get a square with rounded edges and just make a square. Select it. And then using the scale tool, I'm going to type in the measurements that I need. To resize, and then I'm going to colour it in black and then copy and paste just using the keyboard shortcuts and colour the second one in white, and then go back to the scale tool and I'm going to use the percentage scale and scale that to 95%. Highlight them both and then align them both together. I'm just going to copy this as well, so I just want to do another little box, and then I'm subtracting them, so what I'm essentially getting is a frame. Now I'm going to rescale these two boxes, the white one to 33% and the black one to 37%, and this is to create that little box that goes in the top right hand corner. I just want to show you why I've made an actual box rather than just shrinking the other one. So as you can see, if you just shrink it, it creates a really small edge, a really small thin frame that's hard to cut. Whereas if you do it this way and subtract the smaller box from the big box, you get a nicely sized frame. Okay, then I'm going to align them and weld them together, and that's the basic box shape that I'll be using. And now I'm just going to make a grid, 7 by 5 grid for the calendar. There we go, that's all done. And now I'm going to work on this side by starting out by making another frame, just using the same technique that I used before. And then I'm going to use a second box just to cut the top part out of the frame. There we go. So there's my note boxes. Now what I'm going to do is add the text. Using the text tool, I'm going to start by adding the name, family name. Highlight that and then change it to my selected font. And then I'm going to weld it together and also group it together. So I'm welding it so that all the letters cut out as one piece, and then I'm grouping it so that things like the dots on the eyes stay with the text. And I'm just going to add the text for the note boxes. So I wanted one that said this month and one that said important dates. And then again I'm going to ungroup them so that it thinks that they're separate objects rather than text. and then weld and group them together as headings. Okay. And the next bit that I'm going to do is I'm going to do all the text for the days of the week and also the months of the year. And I'm going to resize and group them in the same way. I'm just using the spacing tool here to get the space right between the words. And there we go, that's all the artwork done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my canvas size back down to 12 by 12 because that is the largest that I can cut, and also the size of the vinyl. And then I'm going to reorganize the elements on my page so that I can cut them on sheets of vinyl. The important thing here is just to move the elements around and not to resize them because they're perfect the size they are for the project that we're doing. It's just to move them around to make sure you're getting the best use out of your vinyl. So that's going to be one sheet of vinyl there. That will be my second sheet, so I'll group those together, ready to cut. And this will be my third, so I'll be able to get all my cutting out of 3 sheets of vinyl. And then just send. Make sure you've got cut selected and also the right type of vinyl. So I was using the carbon fiber vinyl for this, and I just used the cutting settings that were preloaded, and they worked really well. And then click send. If you get the option to mirror it, you don't need to mirror it for this project. Okay, so first I'm just cutting the gold pieces out and then moving on to the carbon fibre. And this is just an image of what they looked like after I'd weeded them and put them onto the transfer paper. The board that I was using was a bit old, so it needed a bit of love, so I used some of the whiteboard vinyl to cover up any holes. And then here is just how I've built up layered and built up the calendar using the transfer paper. So I put the dates on one side and then moved over to the other side and put the text. So just exactly like how it was on the Silhouette Studio. And then just to finish it off, I put some nice washi tape around it just to give it a nice gold effect. So the details of everything I've used will be in the information. And there we go, all done. Thanks so much for watching.